reflect on this past month of events on myself. It's a profound thing for a community that prides itself on social justice to be confronted with an act of violence that opened up the floodgates on a sea of testimonials of countless acts, a great wall of intolerance. It is something, a humbling experience to see a university like this be confronted with such a flood of both pain and callousness, and to see this university respond with silence. And not a word, or at best, knee-jerk responses with silence, with such acts like, they made it out. I've never seen it, so I can't believe it happened. Yes, racism exists, but we can't do anything about it. Intolerance is human nature. Why are you all stirring things up? Why are you throwing this in my face? This is just provocative rhetoric, alarmist speech.
And as I heard him yell, I did nothing. I disrespected my position, my humanity, and my race. I was not paralyzed out of fear for my sexuality. I did not fear being called gay. I was not paralyzed out of ignorance. I knew those words cut deep wounds. I was paralyzed out of indifference.
Members of this community, to the heterosexual members of this community, to the males of this community, and even to the financially privileged members of this community, how significant it is to begin deep introspection. I specifically mention these classifications because in our society, these are positions of privilege, whether or not we would like to acknowledge it, and we must interrogate these positions. Yet I cannot do this by myself.
You know what I'm saying? It ain't about, tough stuff. We want to feel like we have a space on this campus where we can dance, we can sing, we can laugh. We want some resources. We don't want just an ALC ball, ALC Boku. We put on these events, and we even get the money to do it.
And that the entire university core curriculum be diversified as well. And that is the no truth, no unity, and to know truth is lay the groundwork to begin unity. Thank you.
So, welcome to this part of the tour where we examine the quad. The quad has 4 main buildings that we have a lot of our classes in, and that would be Devlin, Fulton, Lyons, and Gasson. You can remember the names of these buildings with the useful little acronym, don't forget lesbians and gays.
And speaking of gays and lesbians, actually in May 2005, this was a very important spot for GLBT history here. Over 1,000 students, faculty, and staff gathered here to include sexual orientation in the non-discrimination clause in a day full of strikes, rallies, and marches around campus. There was such great spirit here. Unfortunately, though, the administration chose to be heterosexist and not recognize the humanity of GLBT students and still not protect them under the non-discrimination clause.
The activism was continued in December of 2005 when the gay student groups on campus organized a gala in the basement of Lyons, also known as the Rat. The dance was intended to be a safe place for all students, and all proceeds from it were going to benefit AIDS research. Unfortunately, once again, the university canceled the event, citing a conflict with church teachings.
And now let's go check out a classroom in Fulton.
All right, if you come right this way.
If we just continue this way.
Watch out for these bricks.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
If I were to be a gay student coming to Boston College, who could I get involved with to talk about all those issues we were talking about in the quad?
Well, that's actually a really interesting question and a big concern of a lot of gay groups here. As it is right now, there are only 3 gay groups for the student community. One called Lambda, which has been here for 30 years but not recognized by the university. There is Allies of Boston College, which is a gay-straight alliance, but the president of the university himself wrote the Constitution, and they can actually advocate for gay rights. Now, there's been a lot of issues that we faced with the administration, like how we don't have any resources here on campus that deal specifically with gay issues. They refer us to the Women's Resource Center or counseling, or they outsource us to other places outside of Boston College, which is really emblematic of everything that they do here. They tell us to we can't have a full experience here at BC, but they tell us to go outside of BC for all the resources. We can't be gay inside of Boston College, but we can be gay outside of Boston College, which to me it's weird because of all the messages of social justice and community. You know, it doesn't really fit. They try to push us in the outside of the community, and we want to be brought in.
So that was an excellent question and very telling of what's going on here at Boston College. Let's move the tour down this way and check out a classroom, see what's going on inside.
This room that we're just leaving has some Wizard of Oz elements in it, which I really don't understand, but...
Interesting note, this is actually the room where Intro to Feminism is taught. And here is a Boston College student. Brittany, how you doing?
Pretty good, how are you?
Good, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So we're giving a tour. Do you mind telling them about your experience at BC?
Well, yeah, I just came out of an Introduction to Feminism class. It's one of the few classes I have here that actually reflects some of my interests. Besides that, it's like history, not necessarily reflects me, but yeah, you go through it and then you get those occasional moments when you're expected to give your opinion because you're the only African-American female in such classes as Introduction to Racism or something like that. But that's besides the point. I'm sorry. Welcome to BC.
Do y'all have any questions?
You know, honestly, like, I've heard a lot of talk about, you know, people not feeling represented in the history court. Like, I don't really understand what the big deal is.
The problem is when you only show one side of history, which isn't always presented in the most truthful manner, and there's certain things left out, you leave room for ignorance. You know, things happen because individuals are not educated on different aspects of history that are very important. So we have incidents that happen on campus that reflect this ignorance. So it's not just, you know, a class that you should have the option of taking, but we actually really should learn this history within these core classes because it's important to understand other cultures.
So, Danny, if y'all have another question, or?
Yeah. How do you confront these issues? Are there any groups that students could join, prospective students could look into?
Actually, there are, and thank God, because who knows? I'm actually part of a couple of groups, go to a couple of meetings. SNAP, Society of Native American Peoples, part Native American, so it helps out with that. Not really knowing how to feel about being in a majority white, heterosexual institution with most students reflecting that. Also, different groups on campus such as Truth, the GLC, you know, they reflect my different views. And I feel good to go there and, you know, talk to people who share the same opinions for the most part than I do. And there's also different art events that go on, like open mics, and I like to read poetry, so I'll go there and, you know, read and talk about my day, and it feels good to have those different outlets. It exists, it's here.
Cool. All right, well, thanks, Brittany. I think we're going to go on with our tour.
All right, I think I'm going to go on to Intro to Finance, actually.
All right.
So,
Well, good luck with it.
thanks.
All right, right this way.
All right, continuing on with our tour, we have just walked through the Decibel. Behind us is McElroy, which is a hot spot for women's issues on campus, specifically because it is home to the WRC, also known as the Women's Resource Center. And speaking of women's issues, this semester, our campus was fortunate enough to have been visited by Loretta Ross, a true feminist revolutionary. She is the founder of Sister Song, which is a reproductive justice collective for women of color. Her discussion when she visited BC focused primarily on human rights and emphasized the fact that reproductive justice is a facet of human rights. Unfortunately, the BC's administration hasn't agreed to accept this vision of human rights, as it does not support a discussion and dialogue of reproductive issues on campus. In response to this, the Women's Health Initiative was formed in the spring of 2005. The Women's Health Initiative is a growing group of both men and women students on campus who feel that there should be a dialogue of reproductive issues on campus and the way that they affect our community, our campus community, the country, and the world. The Women's Health Initiative also demands some semblance of equality with the university-funded, recognized, and supported anti-choice group. In the spring of 2005, the UGBC sought and received student recognition